There is a long, quiet season in human life that almost nobody talks about with complete honesty. It is not the turbulence of your 20s when you are desperately trying to build a career, establish yourself, and figure out who you are in a chaotic world. It is not the relentless pressure of your 40s when you are constantly juggling family responsibilities, mortgages, career ambitions, and endless daily obligations. It is the two deep decades between 65 and 85. When people cross the threshold of age 65, everyone sends warm congratulations. They throw retirement parties with colorful decorations. They give you gold watches, engraved plaques, delicious cake, and warm hugs, telling you with big smiles, finally, you get to rest and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But within a few months, after the celebration flowers fade, the congratulations cards are tucked away, and the telephone stops ringing as often as it used to. A strange, unexpected silence creeps into the house. And as the years roll into your 70s and 80s, a fundamental question emerges that catches almost everyone completely off guard. Now that the busy world no longer demands my labor every single day, who am I? If you or someone you love is navigating these golden decades right now, what you hear today might change the way you look at aging, daily purpose, inner peace, and the beauty of slow living. Let us talk about the very first shock of this long season, the sudden disappearance of structure. For 40 long years, your life is ordered by an external clock that someone else set for you. You wake up because the alarm rings. You dress up because you have somewhere to be and people who expect you. You are needed. Your identity becomes deeply tied to your title: a manager, a teacher, an engineer, a nurse, a caregiver, a provider. Every single morning, the world asks something specific of you, and even on the mornings when you are exhausted and overwhelmed, that external demand gives you momentum to keep moving forward. Then comes retirement and the transition into your late 60s and 70s. On Friday afternoon, you are the valued senior team member people call for answers, direction, and guidance. On Monday morning, you find yourself sitting at your kitchen table at 8 o'clock with a cup of coffee, staring at a completely blank calendar page. For the first few weeks, it feels like a glorious, long overdue vacation. You sleep in without setting an alarm. You catch up on lost rest. You move around slowly in your slippers. But as the months turn into years, a subtle, disquieting psychological shift happens beneath the surface. I remember my dear friend Marcus. Marcus spent 38 years working as an accountant for a regional firm. He was a precise, methodical man, the kind of person who kept every paper receipt neatly arranged in labeled blue folders and knew where every single document belonged. When he retired at 66, he smiled warmly, leaned back, and told me, "I am finally going to read all the classic novels I bought over the years, travel around the countryside, and just relax without checking a clock." For about 6 months, Marcus did exactly that. But by the winter of his first retired year, I went to visit him at his house. He was sitting alone by the living room window, staring out at the steady rain falling on his garden bushes. His coffee had gone completely cold in his cup. I sat down near him and asked how he was truly doing. He looked at me with a soft, weary expression in his eyes that I will never forget. He said, When you work for 40 years, you spend every day believing that your stress comes entirely from your job. But when the job stops, you realize something terrifying. The job wasn't just giving you stress, it was holding your daily identity together. It was the skeleton holding up your entire life. Without a set schedule, Marcus felt invisible. He wasn't sad because he missed managing numbers, balancing ledgers, or reviewing tax forms. He was lost because nobody was waiting for him to open the office door at 9 o'clock. He was no longer required by the world. This is the first hidden barrier between 65 and 85, learning how to recreate a personal reason to get out of bed when the external world stops demanding it from you. Identity must be built on internal purpose, not just employment. This brings us to the second major reality of these 20 transformative years: the quiet, natural reorganization of your social circle. When you are young, your friendships are often formed by simple physical proximity. You make friends at school, at university, in your bustling neighborhood, and around the office water cooler. You are surrounded by people simply because you share the same physical spaces and routine schedules day after day. Between 65 and 85, that wide social circle naturally contracts. Some longtime colleagues drift away as their lives change. Some friends relocate to quieter coastal towns or retirement communities to be closer to their grandchildren. As you cross 75 and approach 80, others begin dealing with significant health challenges or quietly pass away. Slowly, as the noise dies down, you realize that many of the relationships you thought were deep and unbreakable were actually just sustained by daily convenience and shared working spaces. But here is the beautiful secret that nobody mentions about this stage. The remaining relationships become 20 times more valuable, sincere, and precious than 100 superficial social connections ever were. Let me tell you about my wonderful friend Doris. Doris and I have known each other for over 32 years now. We actually met 3 decades ago over a small, silly argument about a wooden fence boundary between our garden yards. We stood near the bus stop afterward, heatedly debating about property lines, until something completely unexpected happened. A passing city bus hit a large puddle and splash-drenched both of us from head to toe in dirty rainwater. We stood there dripping wet, looked at each other's ridiculous state, and broke into uncontrollable, belly-aching laughter right on the sidewalk. That argument transformed into shared laughter, and it became the foundation of a 30-year friendship built on honesty and warmth. Now in our golden years, we call each other twice a week without fail. We don't talk about grand, stressful worldly affairs or endless political debates that exhaust the mind. Instead, we talk about the simple, quiet things that actually bring joy. The rich taste of morning tea on a chilly day, the colorful birds visiting the feeder in the yard, a handwritten letter that arrived in the mailbox, or how the trees are changing colors as autumn settles in. As you move through your 70s and 80s, you learn that true personal wealth is never measured by how many people know your name or recognize your title. It is measured by whether you have 1 or 2 genuine souls with whom you can sit in complete, comfortable silence without feeling the need to fill the air with empty words. During these 2 decades, many seniors make the unfortunate mistake of withdrawing entirely from society because their social energy naturally declines. But human beings are inherently built for connection. Even a small, deliberate gesture, like writing a physical letter using a pen and a stamp, dropping it into the metal mailbox at the corner, and waiting patiently for a reply, creates an authentic, grounded human rhythm that digital screens and instant text messages can never replace. Writing a physical letter takes slow, thoughtful effort. It takes patience and care. When it arrives several days later in a friend's mailbox, holding it in their hands brings a genuine tactile warmth that a quick notification on a phone screen can never replicate or match. Now, let us address the physical reality of the 65 to 85 window with absolute candor, honesty, and grace. Across these 20 years, your physical body inevitably changes. It simply no longer responds the way it did when you were 25, 40, or even 60. In your late 60s, you notice mild joint stiffness. By your late 70s and 80s, you move with far greater deliberation, balancing your energy carefully throughout the day. Many people spend the first 5 or 10 years of this season actively fighting their own bodies. They feel deep frustration and anger because they constantly compare their present self at 75 or 80 with their past self from 30 years ago. They view physical limitations as a personal defeat or a failure of will. But true, lasting wisdom during this golden stage is not about fighting the natural aging process. It is about gently changing your relationship with time, movement, and self-care. Think about a simple, peaceful morning routine. Instead of rushing out of bed with a hurried mind and a racing heart, imagine waking up early when the house is still cool and quiet. You put on a cozy, warm pair of socks to keep your feet comfortable. You walk slowly to the kitchen and turn the tea kettle on. While the water gradually heats up on the stove, you spend 10 quiet minutes doing gentle, deliberate stretches to wake up your muscles. You take deep, conscious breaths, breathing in through your nose for 4 steady counts, holding the air softly for a brief moment, and exhaling fully out through your mouth for 6 slow counts. You sit down at the table to eat a warm, nourishing breakfast, perhaps a poached egg or warm oats stirred with a touch of raw honey and fresh ginger, or a small, soothing bowl of hot broth. You do it sitting down quietly, without looking at a buzzing smartphone, checking news alerts, or staring at a loud television screen. You honor the meal. You honor your quiet morning. After lunch, you take a short 7-minute walk down to the end of your quiet neighborhood road and back. It does not need to be a strenuous 10-mile hike over rough terrain. It simply needs to be gentle, consistent movement that lets your lungs breathe in the fresh air and lets your legs move at their own easy pace. When you begin treating your body not as a machine or an engine to be pushed to its limits, but as a faithful, lifelong companion that has carried you safely through decades of life, joy, sorrow, and hard work, your entire perspective softens. You stop grieving what you can no longer do, and you start deeply appreciating what you still can do today. Why, then, do so many wise people look back later and say that the 2 decades between 65 and 85, despite all their distinct challenges and physical adjustments, can become the most meaningful, peaceful chapter of human life? Because for the very first time in your existence, the persistent social illusions fall away. In your 20s, you care desperately about what complete strangers think of you and your choices. In your 40s, you worry constantly about social status, competitive career ladders, financial security, and keeping up with the high expectations of society. But by the time you navigate the quiet adjustments of your 70s and 80s, you realize a profound, liberating truth. Most of the things you panicked over 30 years ago did not actually matter in the end. The critical opinions of people who did not truly love you were entirely irrelevant. The material status symbols you chased so hard did not bring lasting peace to your heart. What remains after the dust settles is extraordinarily simple and beautiful. A quiet, cool room at night with a heavy, warm blanket where you can sleep deeply and peacefully. A hot cup of tea shared across a simple wooden table with a genuine, loyal friend. The gentle ability to sit quietly with your own thoughts without fear, anxiety, or lingering regret. The simple, quiet freedom to say a soft no to things that drain your spirit, and a joyful yes to slow moments that nourish your soul. The difficulty of navigating the years between 65 and 85 is not a curse or a decline. It is a bridge. It is the necessary transition from constant doing to simply being. It is the shift from accumulating worldly possessions to distilling true, lasting wisdom. If you are currently walking through this golden stage of life, or if you are preparing your mind and heart for it in the years ahead, here are 3 simple, practical principles to hold close every day. First, create a gentle daily anchor. Do not leave your waking hours entirely unstructured or empty. Build small, meaningful rituals into your day. A 10-minute stretch while the kettle boils on the stove. A deliberate breathing exercise before you go to sleep at night. A regular short walk after your afternoon meal. Small, consistent structure creates immense inner stability and peace. Second, cultivate slow, meaningful connection with others. Pick up a pen and a piece of stationery. Write a thoughtful letter to an old friend or family member you haven't spoken to in years. Pick up the telephone and call someone just to hear their voice and check on their well-being. Do not wait passively for others to reach out to you first. Be the one who extends the warm hand of connection. Third, practice compassionate acceptance toward yourself. Stop measuring your present chapter using the competitive rules and physical expectations of your past chapters. Every age in human life has its own unique dignity, its own gentle pace, and its own deep, quiet beauty. Life between 65 and 85 is not the end of your story or the fading of your light. It is the highest, clearest vantage point on the mountain, where you can finally look back at the long, winding path you have walked. Smile with quiet pride at the fierce storms you survived, and enjoy the calm, beautiful horizon waiting ahead. Thank you for spending this quiet, meaningful time with me today. If this reflection brought a moment of comfort, clarity, or peace to your day, please share it with a friend or a loved one who might need to hear these words today. Until we speak again, take good care of yourself, walk gently on your path, and rest well tonight.